Roe v. Wade was overturned, and I'm afraid. I'm afraid for various conflicting reasons. I'm afraid that women who experience involuntary miscarriages will be thrown into prison, like in Honduras and Guatemala. Ironically, these may be some women who embraced pregnancy and their motherly duties, but who, since they had bad luck, will now be murder suspects on top of losing their babies. In no other criminal case, including murders of already born people, are the potential assassins considered guilty until proven innocent. More women will have miscarriages due to the lack of medical help, since they're afraid to tell anybody they're pregnant because they risk getting thrown in jail if they have a miscarriage, so best not let anybody know. They may also be afraid to get help for the pregnancy because the help they may receive could be coded as an abortion, since it may harm some pregnancies even while it helps others. So the treatment may be banned as being like an abortion procedure, actually preventing some unborn babies from being saved through these procedures. I'm afraid of the government tactics that will be used to investigate whether a woman has had an abortion or to try to prevent her from having one. Will we be forced to download period and ovulation tracking apps? Will women with irregular cycles be interrogated? It sounds like a wacky conspiracy theory until you remember that that's exactly what a Romanian dictator, whose name I can't pronounce, did just a couple of decades ago. So, who wants to be forced to go to the doctor every month and be grilled about your sexual habits and what your body's doing? And for that matter, lesbians and asexuals and polyamorous people will be outed, since they may have to disclose their lifestyles to explain their sexual habits. I'm afraid, in retaliation to the overturning, abortion will be promoted more strongly and more unborn babies will die, instead of us trying to find a way to make pregnancy, birth, and child rearing easier for women so women and babies can both win. Planned Parenthood and similar organizations will point to the lack of access to abortion as the end-all be-all to women's reproductive problems, rather than interrogating the wider problems like the type of economy we have that prevents women from surviving and thriving along with their children, the environmental factors that pollute women's bodies and make birth and pregnancy more dangerous, the social factors like misogynistic culture telling men to abandon women that they sleep with, and the economy telling us that we need to raise a family with only one other adult human being who will be working out of the house most of the time. I'm afraid women in red Republican states will now have abortions in secret, which will harm both the women and the unborn babies, since the processes will be more back alley. A proper way of handling abortion would be to create a society in which mothers and babies were financially and socially taken care of, and where women's lives and identities did not end the split second they give birth. A society in which abortion was very, very rare and only was done for extreme medical necessities, and with processes that were gentle to mothers and babies, and in which the baby was loved and seen as a person before passing away gently in its mother's arms. That would be a proper way of handling abortion, I think. I'm afraid women with frozen embryos will be taken to court and forced to implant the embryo, or to let another couple have it, or else be charged with neglect, which may lead to their other children be taken away from them as well, because they're neglectful parents now. I'm afraid pregnant women who try to escape their abusive partners to live elsewhere will be forced back to their country of origin, perhaps even the USA, in order to not deprive a man of his fatherly rights. I'm afraid the heightened polarization on both sides of this issue will even further bury the nuance and rationality required to make sense of the abortion issue. I'm afraid all of this will lead to certain people trying to dictate exactly what month, day, hour, and minute a fetus becomes alive, and gaslighting a pregnant mother she disagrees, or grieves too hard, or grieves too little, based upon the exact calendar day of the pregnancy. I'm afraid women won't be able to travel between states, as is our constitutional right, because they might be going for an abortion. I'm afraid pregnant mothers, afraid to let anyone know they're pregnant in case they have a miscarriage, will fail to file child support suits for the fathers of their babies, leading to the baby not being provided for. I'm afraid those women who are selfish and shallow will use the repeal of these laws as an excuse to take zero accountability in their dating, sex life, and relationships with men, including those men who do want to responsibly become fathers to their children. I'm afraid these women will treat sex and reproduction in the same casual, demeaning manner that men do, which helps no one. I'm afraid abusive men will use their wife's pregnancy to prevent her from leaving, or to use it to access her nurturing side for their own benefit. I'm afraid women who use alternative health practices, especially home birth and natural and herbal methods, will be particularly scrutinized for criminal behavior should they accidentally experience a miscarriage, and that mothers who differ in their opinions on what's healthy for their babies and children and for themselves will be punished for disagreeing with doctors and authorities. In fact, who's to say that non-pregnant women won't also be badgered about their health practices in case they might become pregnant in the future? Will women not be allowed to smoke, ride skateboards, eat junk food in case we accidentally conceive? Will we be forced to give up control of our diet and health to authorities since we might become pregnant and kill the baby by having an unhealthy uterus? I'm afraid women who are addicted to drugs and cannot get off of them will be arrested for miscarriage, even if they were forced into pregnancy and or forced into the drugs as well. I'm afraid that making abortion into a legal instead of a personal matter will do more harm than good, since it inserts the state, which is fundamentally a creature of force, into a woman's very womb. We don't save babies or women by introducing a dragon into the scenario. Oppressive patriarchy, economic systems, and authoritarianism are what cause most desire for abortions in the first place, so inviting these things, in the form of government, into our most sacred spaces will ultimately cause more harm than good. Build connections with other women, grow your own food, study medicine, help each other, and sustain yourself, and that is the best guard against both abortion and the loss of freedom. Are you afraid like I am? What are you afraid of? And what should we do to make things less scary? As usual, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment if you have feelings about this episode.